Dzień dobry, witam Państwa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a conference on Bogdanka coal mine. It will be devoted to the preliminary financial and operating results for Q1 and 2. I welcome all of you, analysts, journalists, and representatives of the boards of companies within the Enea group, and also those who follow us online. The hosts of our meeting today are Mr. Grzegorz Kinelski, President of Enea, CEO, Mrs. Dalita Gepfert, Deputy CEO, Corporate Affairs, Mr. Mark Lądko, Finance CFO, Bartosz Krystal, Trade Commercial Deputy, and Mr. Artur Wasilewski of Bogdanka coal mine. We will divide the meeting into three parts. The first one is presentation and discussion by the representative of the boards. Second one will be a short movie. We want to show you the progress of our latest capital project. And the third and last but not least, Q&A, traditionally. So I hand it over to President of the Board, Mr. Grzegorz Kinelski, right now. Once again, welcome wholeheartedly at this conference on the results of the group of the company. Now, in detail, we'll have a presentation and the results, a little bit more about the investment part and the renewals. And I would like to emphasize that we continue as a group take part in the process of transformation of what's going on in the Polish energy marketplace in both generation and distribution and trade. So we are present and proactive, and we develop these trends. Our key course of action is development, and we want to be the guiding principle for the next future strategy that we are in the process of approving. It goes through the process of verification and corporate approval. And as we promised, we'll announce it later this year, once it's all approved. Our objective is sustainable development. That hasn't changed. We want to meet the expectations of the shareholders of the market in general. We want to do it while preserving safety and security and the interest of the group, of the shareholders. And thanks to our staff, our employees, and the management board, who are the key asset, like in any company. Other than that, Enea is to play here in Poland, in the Polish electric energy system, very important, and a role as a stabilizer. So our plans for the future development, the development of the renewables, of natural gas resources and storage capacity serves to this to provide for stability and safety and security of the Polish energy system. Already now, today, we intensify our development in the field of renewable sources of energy. We have different projects at different stage of development, but we ask for conditions, permits, for hookups. We develop all of these projects, those that, as we think, will be very attractive within the group. And we continue our trend to increase efficiency in the key areas of the group, namely efficiency such as lower cost, higher revenue. And I think this will be a strong pillar and a basis or foundation for the development of Enea in the next years to come. And now I would like to invite you to learn about details about our results and key indicators for the third quarter that demonstrate the results of our effort as the entire group at all the stages and all the areas of our operation. We shall start with the market environment. Once again, welcome wholeheartedly. Allow me make few key comments and observations concerning the most important market indicators concerning electricity, CO2, coal. Generally speaking, the spot market since, say, February is in a side trend. The current price below 440 zlotys for the base frequency, and that it doesn't show any bigger fluctuation. The price is within the limits between 420 to 490 zlotys during that period. Great fluctuation and increasing in the price of electricity on the spot market. We can see in the lower left corner that average monthly price is at about 500 zlotys, but it's characterized by big fluctuations, volatility. Often the prices were negative even during the entire period of the third quarter, beginning with June. We have also a side of even decreasing trend recently. Of licenses for CO2 emissions, 70 euro for the next year. In the third quarter, the price was slightly lower. Also, prices of coal are characterized by moderate, however, still a downward trend, both if we relate them to the index of the synthetic domestic PSCMI 1 and AP2 index with supply in Poland. So the level is slightly below 20 zlotys per gigajoule this year, with the slightly decreasing trend for the next years to come. Just a few words about spreads. Clean dark spread, so the unit margin on generation clean dark spreads for gas generation. We can observe a very alarming trend, which is the generation based on coal has been for a longer time not profitable. So unit generation of electricity, and it's the same amount, gives us negative results. So it doesn't cover the variable costs. So with the current cost and the price for emission and the price of electricity, generating electricity using coal gives us a negative unit margin. What has also decreased is the base clean spark spread that would be characterized with good values in the first quarter of this year. Generally speaking, due to high increase of natural gas prices to be supplied next year, increased by several dozen zlotys during the year, and thanks to that, largely, the spread has been lower. It's still positive, but it's at a very low level. A situation very similar on this in spot contracts. The trend concerning spread is reversed, but the interdependency is the same. Natural gas is still on plus. So the conditions are very difficult with the price of gas, which is in spot and long-term contracts, with the costs for of emission license. It's about 100 euro per megawatt hour, the price of contracts with the future supply. That means the need to revise our approach to contracts. It's hard to take decisions about selling electricity generated by using coal with these negative spreads. As we informed you many a time, we have to have a provision to repurchase energy, and that translates into the production strategy and the usage of our units. That would be it. Now to the third quarter results. As Bartek said, it doesn't translate yet so strong for the results of this year. By the end of the year, we're still selling contracts that we concluded during previous years. From the financial perspective, this quarter is similar to quarter 1 and 2. Very similar results. We have decreased sales revenue owing only to lower energy prices, and the decrease that you can see in quarter 3 is clearly the same as in the 3 quarters of this year, generally speaking, and it doesn't translate negatively into the results. On the contrary, we have record EBITDA margin in quarter 3 at a level of 23% for the 3%, 22% being the results of, on the one hand, decreased revenue and the EBITDA increase. On the other hand, in quarter 3, our result was 1.8 billion zlotys. It translates positively to net profit. Last year, the consolidation level, we made write-offs in the 3 quarters at Bogdanka. Now this year, the result is without write-offs. Hence, even better translation of EBITDA to the year-to-year results, and also parameters of our covenant to EBITDA is at the level of which is very satisfactory. Now it's the result of high EBITDA. LTM for the last 12 months is 8,191 million zlotys versus 3.6 billion after 9 years of the last years now. And the net debt is very low as well in our case. As to the results that we had in individual areas, it's mainly mining, generation and distribution.
Looking at changes in the 3rd quarter, we had positive impact of the volume of production of Bogdanka coal production, over quarter of previous year. And of course, the coal prices are lower, which lowers the growth driven by volumes. Bogdanka also reduced its coal production cost side. From the systemic power plants, this seems quite an interesting topic. Over 1 billion zloty is generated from resale of energy. Also a situation in which we had futures contracts for delivery, and we had to buy back the energy on the market at lower prices, which helped us earn substantial amounts. And of course, the exchange rate differences, we bought these at higher exchange rate, which gives us additional 230 million zloty. On the 30th of June, the balancing market changed. Bartek showed us the spot market. We saw quite a volatility of prices then. But from perspective of generators, as Enea is, this impacts in a positive way revenue from power balancing market. Substantial amount achieved there. We've built in distribution, we have stable situation, growth, capex and development of the distribution translates into regulated value of assets, WACC. Plus 62 million, and our depreciation has increased as well. Also positive impact of the regulatory account, and the balancing differences have no negative results as a year earlier. On the distribution, the result we have achieved lower than other years, but that's implementation of the tariff as of 1st July of this year. This is a tariff for 18 months into the future, which should be compensated over that period of 18 months. How that translates into results of the first three quarters, result of 5,333 with production 556, generation 2,664 million, of which 926 is resale of power, which can be perceived as of course, one-off, will not occur once the energy prices settle. Also, we bought exchange rate differences, 630 plus. We bought, and we have protection of EU ETCs as of 1st June, we have 248 million from the balancing market. All these events have impact on the divergence of the three quarters. These are the key factors. Thank you once again. Hello. Results of Bogdanka coal mine, hard coal mine, particularly third quarter, are perceived by us as positive. In mining, this is a combination of our activity and the global market prices. As we've heard now, we understand how the market is working now, and hence production of energy-based, coal-based, creates a demanding conditions. But the management has undertaken measures which adjust us to this dynamically changing environment. 10 plus years ago, I remember times when changes took place every 4 or 5 years only. Now the changes occur every number of months. And nonetheless, we have been capable of adjusting. We have learned our lessons of the past, and results of the third quarter clearly demonstrate that the lesson has been learned properly. We're ready to operate with flexibility. In the past, this may have been less possible, but now working on the timetables of the respective walls that we're working has been quite allows us to act flexibly with production to the changes. If you look at the dynamics, the growth, we've been rebuilt our production capacities. Today, daily production is in line with the company's strategy, over 30,000 tons per day, which allows you to achieve effective take advantage of economics of scale. Over this year over year, 30%. EBITDA contribution 700 and plus million zloty. For 22 zloty per gigajoule is the price. On the volumes side, we have contributed positively at 666 million zloty to the company. So to sum up, very challenging environment, but we're learning, and we're learning very effectively. We are able to respond and we are managing the capex and opex effectively, achieving very good results in the third quarter. Thank you very much. Moving to a generation segment now. EBITDA margin there higher, substantially higher than on a year-over-year basis. The main key factors have been underlined here by my colleague. We have lower revenue coming primarily from lower price of electrical energy and somewhat lower sales volumes. However, primarily because of the repurchase result and introduction of balancing services, market services, we have been since June we've been registering higher EBITDA result. What is of course for concern is that power production is 20% lower than sales of electrical energy, and the lower left-hand corner shows a substantial jump. Unfortunately, and this trend has been continuing. Of course, domination of conventional sources, our contribution of our production in our production of sales has been declining. Looking at comparison of production, we have decline of generation from conventional sources, some decline in the biomass-fired sources. Generally speaking, we have remained at average same level. Looking at the renewable sources, 490 plus megawatts installed capacity in the three quarters of this year. Quite a small difference in terms of power, but if you look at 205 to 299, there is an increase in production and running these sources. Photovoltaics, we had only 53 megawatts of power installed capacity there, but dominant part of the 96 megawatts were installations that were put online in the third quarter, so they've not yet been able to generate energy. The capacity has increased by 15 megawatts, but tenfold increase production at the same time, nearly 70 megawatts of photovoltaics working in the sector. Thank you. Now, looking at the distribution, this is in revenue side quite stable, but looking more importantly at the margins, the regulated asset value, WACC, and as well as the how that translates into reality, WRI, and average weighted average cost of capital. In the regulated area, 260 million increased. The balancing difference is 160 million. Last year, we incurred loss there because of the high prices of energy. Regulated account is positive. On the volume of distribution, this has remained level to a year earlier, but we need to turn your attention to the fact that among the small business, we observed decline of 4% year to year of use or demand. Yes, there's some delay in working of the pilot here. Looking now on the renewables and impact of distribution to the transformation, green transformation in Poland, very important role of our distributors and other distributor companies in Poland. Over the past 3 quarters, on the right-hand side, the final bar, we see 6.9 gigawatt of the total connected renewables. This year, it's 1 giga increase in capacity, which is a strong growth trend in this area. It is for the first time that we're showing at a conference the saturation indicator of our area in these sources. In other words, installed capacity in the area of operation of our distributor has increased twice. The clients, so that there's a twofold increase. On the contract signed with the clients and connection agreements, once they are in place, this indicator will increase to 4 from 2. That's on the distribution side in Poland. Looking now on the quality for the client on the right-hand side, the SAIFI indicator, the number of improvement since 2019 until today, we continue improving, and the breakdowns are coming down. The upper graph includes the SAIFI driven by disasters also. And this is the count of how quickly we're able to connect them back to the network. Also, breakdowns, improvement of that indicator in 2020. This is quite stable with slight improvement, but that is primarily driven by planned Here we are working to improve the overall quality of the network, distribution network, and these CapEx projects drive slight increase in that indicator. On the distribution side, it's important to understand how we prepare ourselves for the future CapEx projects. As distributor, we intend to increase our CapEx spent on this in order to improve the value of and effectiveness of the group, and to respond to the system. We need to create more throughput in the system, and we meet with the contractors on the construction market. We publish our lists of planned investments and tenders. We've introduced more flexible payment forms in order to improve competitiveness in the market. And finally, next year we will be using algorithm as a support for our investment decisions. There's lots of choices to make, and hence AI can assist us in selecting more effectively. In order to implement, of course, in CapEx, we need to have funding, and we continue raising these funds from support areas. We have recently received 123 subsidy for medium voltage networks. This is an important value of a program, which includes a program until 2036, substantial government development program, 16 million euros. And we intend to achieve substantial part of that program. On the renewables, there's much to be done in general. But on one hand, this year, we've started publishing applications for connection, so that makes it transparent and easy for the potential those who wish to connect to the network, so that we can manage the situation, why we decline at a given, when we need to. So there are areas where the saturation of sources, of renewable sources, may be high, so we need to be transparent, and this is why we publish this queue of 4 connections. And also recently we've met with 200 generators of this category, of renewables to be clear about the process.
Talking about distribution and trading sales of electricity in this period, we've observed very similar revenue, slightly higher in 2024, while the margin, EBITDA, has increased basically by nearly 300 million. It's a relatively low level for the time being only 1.2% of our revenue. Nevertheless, due to better regulation or easier regulatory aspects as compared to last year, and the regroupment of the sales portfolio of B2B customers, we've managed to achieve such a margin level. We have a higher volume of sales by 12, but it has increased by 12%, both in the group of business customers, 15%, and in the group of individual customers. The margin, as I said, basically it's a lower negative impact on of regulatory factors on the margin. As to business activities and sales focusing activities, we have made a great focus on offers for households with guarantees of the source of origin. So 2,000 contracts signed, 13 giga of guarantees of origin, and this offer was welcomed by the market very well. And the customers are using, and they are interested. They demonstrate it with our Enea Optima system. I've talked about it earlier. We want to increase it very much, and we count on a very dynamic development scale in the context of the management and our assistance to customers to manage energy. We have started sale of gaseous fuel slowly but steadily. It wasn't sold for 18 months by Enea. This year we have the first contracts signed already, and I hope very much that this will become a very stable and pretty important business leg of Enea. Also, green offer for the business community in the guarantees of origin, 7 terawatt of energy in 2024. We observe also high level of interest among the customers. We encourage clients, customers, to use Enea Trade 24 platform, which is a more and more popular tool. We use it. The customers can individually manage the purchase, the servicing of stage or tranche of transactions that we propose. And the last thing I'm very proud of, we have won 110 tenders, auctions, which is as much as 64% of those of the bids that we've placed over hours. The two most important bids were that for the capital city of Warsaw and that for Wrocław, the city of Wrocław, municipality of Wrocław. Talking about our new business line performed by Enea Eco company. Let me refresh your minds. The company was established 4 months ago only and presented it during the previous conference of results last September. Based on that, company want to develop green transformation of Enea, mainly focusing on trade of green energy and energy efficiency in a broad meaning of the term. Certain activities which are very important and very positive over the last several months have surfaced. We obtained already 5 white certificates for municipalities within the realm of any operator. We have already submitted nearly 2,000 bids for our on energy efficiency. Over 100 companies are interested in audits, and we are very glad for that. And it's only the beginning of our action project to present these bids, to present these offers. We have focused very much on energy efficiency and the process related to it, the processes that are in line with the ESG in a broad meaning of the term. We've defined new energy efficiency policy within the group, and in a systemic manner we begin to manage the process. Also, if we talk about the green energy for customers as an area, we have started contracting process to contract for business customers, PPA contracts, that's what I mean. And we also started activities to cooperate, to build RES installations at the customer sites and to sell them or using other business models so that we can optimize cost of electricity to the customers and to make their energy management more green. We also, as I said, sell electricity with guarantees of origin, but also we make an offer, a green offer for individual clients. So within the realm of Enea, new green business line by Enea, despite the fact that it's been a very short period of time, as I said, it's from mid-August, you can already see positive results, that this nucleus of green energy is growing, and we're very glad because of that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're driving towards the end. You've heard a lot of information about operational and innovative activities in the group. Let me present in a very brief information about CapEx in all the areas and segments of the group. As you remember, each presentation we show this year we plan to split 4.6 billion zlotys. And the bulk of it is CapEx within distribution, and 3 quarters later we can say that the largest part of 2 billion spent until today is 1 billion that we allocated for distribution. The elements which are standard, subject to modernization of the grid and the development of the grid, but the bulk of this is hookups of new renewables, new customers, already mentioned by Marek when he talked about indicators and the number of those hooked up or connected installations, distribution. We have 188,000 new renewables out of 9.6 gigawatt of power. So it means a great, many retail or major or smaller capital projects. Talking about renewables, we are building, and we'll show you in a while, the installations which are under construction, 41 megawatt of new capacity under RES, under construction. So this indicates the is not fully satisfactory to us. As you know, it doesn't meet our plans, but we believe that we'll manage to accomplish most of these capital projects in renewables by the end of the year. As Mr. President has managed, the development of the group, especially that of green energy, is of key importance to us. Talking about conventional energy, the bulk of investment, the bulk of CapEx is to adjust the units to faultless operations, so standard modernization or upgrade of the coal-operated units, but also adjusting those in power units from 2 to 7 for cogeneration to take part fully in the market. Author has already mentioned that we are getting ready and in mining as against 646 million. That's Bogdanka. So I think it looks spectacular. We are below the plan, but we have make an overview of the capital plan to verify it well, so that every penny, every zloty that we spend for the roads development is properly spent. Now talking about the development of RES for the period of the last 9 months, a very small increase, as I said, in photovoltaics by the end of the year, with hope that the level of the installed capacity will be increased by 89 megawatts. As to wind power, we expect partial of base farm, which is, let's say, well, 50%, slightly more than 50% built. But we're glad for other topics which are almost accomplished, where within 2 months or so, at the latest, they will be commissioned. So as you can see, all in all, it's about 30 megawatts of photovoltaics and 20 megawatts of wind power. And these projects, as I said, within 2 or 3 months will be accomplished. I'm also very glad for the fact that our plan and its advancement and the accomplishment of what we decided to tackle a few months ago, and what I presented as an opening to demonstrate our plans, our designs, and how we want to achieve it. Today I focused on some very realistic or already being implemented at this stage of the project development topics. We have 114 megawatt, 7 photovoltaic projects under construction of being developed. We are at the last stage of corporate agreements, which within 2 weeks will be concerning another 30 projects, totaling 207 megawatts of photovoltaics. Next stage for the beginning, planned for the beginning of next year, to be built is 17 projects, 141 megawatts total. So these are much larger numbers as compared to what we have right now, and as to increases observed this year. We've focused very much on energy storage, energy warehouses in this all over Poland. We need very many and big capacity. At the moment, our plans are, and we are preparing and taking these corporate decisions, very specific, 5 locations, 390 megawatt. These houses will work at photovoltaic farms, independent ones that will make profit on the next day, intraday and systemic services markets. So these projects are very specific, and we are developing them. We have 2 projects of our own wind farms, totaling 34 megawatts, and all that fulfills our funnel that you can see on the left-hand side on the slides, slightly over 1 gigawatt of power, of capacity, topics that within, say, 2 years should appear. And we are very glad for that. And of course, there are acquisition projects. We are working on them. We haven't mentioned them. These are very specific projects to acquire wind farms totaling over 200 megawatt. And it's 9 projects in 9 locations and 1 projects of energy storage place, a warehouse. We are also analyzing and scouting about more topics. I wanted to show very specific things only, that from the perspective of our Enea are already being processed, and we are waiting impatiently that they become ready installations within our portfolio.
Let me then summarize the prospects for the future. In other words, what's likely to happen in 2025? Above all, what we've presented to you today, we can expect higher increases in OZE connected in the area of operation of our operator, and consequence of that will be further push out of production or generation from conventional sources. Looking at the past 2 years, the level of production has declined from over 60% of conventional to 37%, which means that we expect that additional connections of RESs will lead to the reduction of production or generation from conventional. So this small declining or slow declining trend will lead to further decline in CDS margins, because this was planned in the past years or contracted in past years. So next year CDS will be much lower than this year. As a group, we also intend to increase our capex in distribution in the next year. In line with our 5-year plan, we will continue investing in development of the distribution network, increasing the value of the group, and our energy efficiency will be improved as a result. And also, RESs will require substantial outlays. Thank you. Enea's transformation increases in speed. This is a short clip describing a build-out of a wind farm in Świętokrzyskie regions. Please join us for this short clip describing.
Elementem zielonej transformacji Enea jest właśnie zielony skok. Tutaj jesteśmy na farmie wiatrowej Bejsce, gdzie budujemy 6 turbin wiatrowych o mocy ponad
6 turbines, wind turbines, over 3 megawatts each.
Inne źródła energii, co pozwoli naszym...
This will replace other sources, which will allow our client to breathe deeper.
Inwestycji w odnawialne źródła energii. Farma wiatrowa w Bejsce, którą dzisiaj wizytujemy, jest tego przykładem.
This farm is an example of our leapfrogging into the green energy area. We're increasing the rate at which we are moving in this segment.
Ambicją jest rozwój 2000 MW.
We aspire to install 2,000 megawatts by 2030.
Resztę budowy, montaż wirników.
We will show you the completion of the build-out, installation of the rotors and further. Now is the time for your questions and responses of the board. handing over the microphones. Please introduce yourself, the name of the institution you represent, and submit your questions.
Dzień dobry, Paweł Puchalski, Santander.
Paweł Puchalski, brokerage of Santander Bank. Let me start by the coal and energy, coal-fired energy. And would like to clarify, you've mentioned that you are more power than generation. So next year you've assumed a decline in production or generation based on coal. Is that clear? Let me answer that question with a yes. Yes, we assume lower volume of production than this year for the next year. One of your first slides, clean dark spread, and showing how negative it is. So let me ask two aspects of that. What were the assumptions that you made? You can calculate it on various ways. What are the assumptions for coal price? Is that realistic for Enea, market-based, in other words? And one more question for you. Maybe this kind of graph might be an excellent reason why you may wish to ask for additional reduction of per unit price for coal with your... Yes, the graphs we've presented, spark spread on the spot market as well as the futures market, were really average for the country. We've applied there various price indices. We've AP2 quotations, the quotations for ETSs and energy and power market. You'll have to take into account the actual condition of the sources in terms of their efficiency, of emissions, and so on. But on the average, this is a situation that's perceived as a reference for our system, entire system. These are not data for Enea alone. Each one of those groups, the data are very coincide. Clean dark spread, it may not be, let's say, minus, and someone has plus 100. This is plus 10, minus 10, maximum 20%, one way or the other, depending on their price of coal that they buy, and so on. Second question now. Let me put it this way. We have been purchasing our coal from our mine and from our Bogdanka group at market prices. And prices for 2025 will be, by all means, market prices adequate to realities of the market. Since I am still holding a mic, let me move to Bogdanka now. I've just heard that production of electricity based on your fuel will be declining, and you're showing volumes for next year that are lower than the 7.9 million tons that you've planned for this year on the production side. So who would be buying the coal if these prices are what they are? Well, let me, as you've noted, our group says that it is so that decline will be among the demand will be lower in the group, but also the same will hold true throughout the country. So if we have a problem, then our decline will be the weakest, because the Silesian mines will take most of that. Let me ask more for Bogdanka. In the third quarter, you've registered excellent results, in my assessment, were primarily driven by limited number of preparatory works under ground, will you have a very low, similar low level of these preparatory works in next quarter? This will be driven primarily by reduction of work from Monday to the actual production Monday to Friday, and weekends are preparatory works that creates flexibility. With 30,000 tons per day, which creates additional volume flexibility. And we as a board underscored that as of today, in the past, we have the black days, in other words, Monday, Friday, was sufficient to fulfill the demand of our clients. So note at our slide presented here and our own presentation, our reserves stand at 1 day of production. So we are building flexibility in order to ensure, in case of increase, we add Saturdays. If there is decline, we can cut by 1 black day. So we have, as I said, we have learned our lessons, and we're not boasting, but you are assessing this based on the results. If the fluctuations are substantial, then our flexibility is limited to the coverage of the fixed costs. And we are aiming at the key areas that we are producing on. Further questions? Rafał Zasun, Wysokie Napięcie magazine. So I have 5 questions. Let me ask them one by one. First one, Kozienice, the power market. A comprehensive answer, if I could get. Will you submit that to auctions? What is the financing reality for building additional unit there? And what about the contractor for that production? We have waited for that question. This is an excellent question. So, ladies and gentlemen, looking at the procedure in progress now on building of these gas sources in Kozienice, this is progressing in line with the plan. We have yet to receive a binding offer at the time when this was set. So we've moved into negotiation with a single supplier or contractor, and we are in negotiations. We have not changed in our determination to move in the power market, and we have contracts with the banks in terms of obtaining certain binding offers, not yet contracts. So before the power market comes into online, we will have all the pieces of the puzzle to be able to launch at the expected time. Do you really want to rush into this? That's another question. Yes, this is sub-question, of course. Let me put it that way. That project has been in operation for the past 3 years. So if we were to be rushing, that's really not it. It's rather a marathon run, and we are at the final stages of that marathon run. Another question then on the repurchase of in generation. You have the good results based on that. What is the load factor when that becomes not sufficient? You will no longer be able to keep the margins at positive level. The load factor continues to fall. Hence, at what is it, 1,500 hours or whatever else? Will that no longer work?
Let me answer like this. Well, in fact, this proportion between sold energy and that produced one is decreasing, the disparity. The difference we fill in with the repurchase of electricity from the spot market and the balancing market. I would put it like this. It's not so much a load factor which is at stake, but we want to accomplish a hedging activity and not speculative activity. It's not about the spec. We can repurchase only as much energy as much we have saved by production or safeguarded. So if we produce, we purchase the CO2 and we have safeguarded fuels. There may be a situation when we won't be able to fill in this sales space, and this is the major problem. To be able to sell electricity, so properly speaking, to have the chart on for the units, the time chart, and then we can decide whether we generate it by itself or buy it from the market if it's profitable. Now we face a major problem. The entire coal-operated energy sector, we have negative spreads on coal. It's difficult to sell electricity, and only this opens up an opportunity for us to either to generate it or to repurchase it. Of course, keeping the hedging properly and not asset-based trading, that's not the point. Yes, but there is a certain level at which of load factor where, well, costs are not covered. Yes, they are not, but so the needs of the capacity market, for capacity market and other streams of revenue on the generation side. So the balance, there's balancing the capacity part and how to use properly or to manage properly materials, other such waste. There will be no capacity market in a while, in 3 years' time. Well, sir, I believe very much, I'm fully convinced that the capacity market for the years 2026, 2028 will be in place, and we count on that fact that configuration and a way how the derogatory mechanism be such that it will allow us to take part in this marketplace. But also, and I've mentioned that many a time, I cannot imagine that after that period, after 2028, there will be no scheme that would provide a reserve or provision in the system to be built by conventional coal-operated sources. I will agree that these sources will be marginal, power-generating ones, providing this power reserve, but it will be operating after a few years after that market starts. Does it cover the fixed costs in full? Such a market, capacity market, does not cover them. It's not its role. This capacity market is to finance a part of the business operation. As I said, we have several financial streams. The main one is electricity market, as energy, which with current conditions does not cover fixed costs. All we do, and what we are going to struggle with, is that we want to cover the variable costs and certain margin to be generated by trading, repurchasing. And two other important factors is the capacity market, where we are until the end of the next year, and the market of balancing services, where we can, we've been taking since 14th June this year. Storage will be the warehouses storage capacity in taking part in or merchant storage, and whether the auctions have been already announced for the construction. No, we haven't announced. There was no RFP. There will be different storage. There will be those that will be for the capacity market and those that will be not submitted. So it's not during this auction. not during this year's auction. And the last about the tariffs. There is an obligation by the law, the draft law adopted by the government, that you apply for change tariff by 30th April next year. And the question is, how do you assess such a legislative activity? Well, you have extended tariffs so that you can have stable conditions to operate. As you rightly observed, it's a draft of a new regulation, draft of an parliamentary act, which is undergoing legislative procedure. Well, the assumptions are, the guidelines are that companies will have to apply next year for corrected tariff or adjusted tariffs. I am deeply concerned, and that's how we made an agreement 5 or 6 months ago with the president of URE, that we have a tariff for 18 months. Everyone knows how it was designed, how we approach the energy provision. But does not draft, but the president, the CEO of URE, no, of Energy Regulatory Office, URE. We'll see the final draft, and then we can say something. We don't need to worry in advance. Mr. Sawicki has a question, I can see. Thank you very much. I will stay in line with my colleague, calculating very fast the value of the repurchase of energy. 46% on the what is the, if you count for the first 3 quarters, what's your forecast for the next year? Will you continue with such a high repurchase? Will we wind up the result of generation? While in the forecast you can see that you will be still forced to an even bigger effort to switch off the coal-operated unit, and I have to ask about the freezing of energy prices. I know that entities such as local authorities or SMEs will have those prices at the level of 693 zlotys. I wonder whether this level in the portfolio, do you have companies that still use this price, or the market is stable enough that the price is below 693 zlotys if we talk about these energies such as SMEs and local authorities, local governments? Well, talking about repurchase, it will operate next year as well, but the repurchase are 2 issues. One, that we are sort of detached, and second are the price differences. Even if we have the repurchase next year, we won't earn as much on price differences, that's certain. It was a bonus for the market, so we've gone down from very high energy prices. Now, as you can see, they've been stabilized, so you can count on the margin on this kind of activity will be much lower than during this year.
Now, looking at your second question, there are clients who take advantage of this suspension. Some have treated this to themselves with advance of 2 years. At that time, the price was below 620. Today, for some considerable time, the price for the clients is much lower, at about 500 zloty, 510, let's be precise, depending on the market segment. So the market today is substantially below that protective barrier. Those that have contracted 2 years ago, 18 months ago, at that time we had much higher prices than the 693 zlotys. Further questions? Hello, Irek Chojnacki, Nowy Przemysł, in this website. On the distribution market, what is the idea to implement the instruction for the network In other words, to ask regulator to adopt the option that after 30 days of rights to connection, if there is no connection, the operator has the right to review the conditions, which market reads as really cutting the window for connection to 30 days, basically. Well, the distribution market is ever more dynamic. It's not the time when there was an electrical energy coming to end users from number of coal-fired sources. Today, connections are. We have a logarithm working, growing power of the res sources. And that allows us to better improve the management of that process. If the queue is longer and the clients will not have the conditions, because when the conditions are issued were based on specific conditions of the time. So when we issue the connection conditions until signing of a connection agreement, they may respond because the network situation may change over that time. Let me add to what Marek has said and say that it seems that one important additional element of why we submitted this proposal, it doesn't have to be 30 days. Market has acted as a reserve power without signing, but that blocked others who otherwise would have approached us and signed actual connection contracts with us. So oftentimes there weren't contracts following many of these requests. So if we have signatures and we see that those investments and not just blocking for capacity in the network, we don't want to create a third market trading in the terms and conditions for connection. Let me ask another question. Now my question is for the distribution segment. One, a general question of what is the company's intent? How much did you apply for in terms of monies from the national project for granting? And tell us over how many years that is, for 1 year or for a longer period of time. And also, I'd like you to start showing us a graph, starting from next presentation, of how RAC develops. That's an important part of the market, and we want to start observing that. To respond to your second question, we can add that graph. We will do, because we are showing how much our distribution results increase by adding the WACC change. We have demonstrated this. On the first question, some of our entities are still submitting applications for grants, so we are summing this up. One thing I can say now is that program is at 16 billion euros up to 2036. That's the spent period, and our application goes into billions of euros of grant funding. Ultimately, these monies will be distributed based on actual needs, and PSE and key operators' investment development plans. Could you make that more precise? If you're saying billions, then there is a major difference between 2 as opposed to 3 billion. If we divide the 16 billion by 5 main players, 1/5 of the 16, would that be a good estimate of what you should or you aspire to acquire? We'd like to have our piece of the cake. of the pie. The market needs to develop on the Polish power grid, but also all the main players, generators. So this should be allocated according to the needs. We've started with a major scale application, and these amounts are substantial, but I cannot tell you how much we would be satisfied with. If this is a fair distribution, and the regulator, I'm sure, is reviewing these plans, CapEx plans, and the companies are looking at this, and the regulator is also double-checking that, then I can hope for fair distribution of these grant funds. And Mr. Sawicki, three very brief questions. Hedging for power. Polenergia people have said that they've contracted for next year. My question is, can you share with us the level of contracting for next year? Also, the price of energy under the eco offering of yours. What is the rate that you're offering under this new service? Also, for the households particularly. Is based on the guaranteed price for daily energy use. In your list of projects, RES projects, 130 megawatts in Połaniec. KPI also mentions the same project, gas-fired. Is that the same project? Or will we have some more detail about this project that have not been, this gas project has not been announced earlier, but seems to be going ahead in Połaniec? Let me start with hedging. From our perspective, the answer is very straightforward. Entire position is hedged. We are using various hedging methods, depending on what we are hedging. Looking at the sales position, we hedge majority of contracts immediately on the back-to-back basis to the extent possible. Otherwise, we also hedge by tracking the market basis. So that's the generation side. The method of hedging is driven by the contracting form. The level of hedge of generation by products I will not share. Apologies for that. Looking at the topic of the eco offer, and you're asking specifically for households, retail households. I cannot give you the price right off. I will share that with the market. We are currently preparing the offering of green offer for the households for the coming years, longer term, because we are convinced that we should be promoting that in the market. And you've also asked about Połaniec and this energy power storage facility, gas-fired unit at Połaniec. Yes. We are looking at various gas-fired projects, not just Połaniec. This is not any specific decision as yet. That's not been adopted. However, after discussions and consultations with PSE, Polish Power Grid, we perceive the need for building out the gas-fired peakers, in other words, those sources that are used very limited time frame, but will be a flexible reserve for us, and we are very much for undertaking this topic. And we're thinking of building such units in Połaniec and Kozienice and third other location. Much depends on the conditions of availability of capacity under PSE, whether units of 130 megawatt in Połaniec, I cannot respond to that question. And finally, the final questions, we will allow Mr. Chojnowski to ask that question. Thank you. I forgot to ask about an important matter. What is your current plan in terms of timetabling of retiring Kozienice units, 200 megawatt units? How consistent are you in adopting that plan? This is part, and a very important part of our strategy. So if we will be presenting it to you, this has to be done in a context, broader context. And I won't give you a discussion of dates or times specifically now, but our overall strategy and our approach to the generation mix, this has been very worked out in great detail. The most probable scenario includes development of other sources, gas-fired and RES. So this is part and parcel of our overall strategy. So when we discuss strategy, we will discuss that in great detail. Thank you very much for your questions and responses as well, and inviting you for next year when we summarize 2024 in its